We're going to talk about the Methuselah gene. We're going to talk about a lot of really heavy things here. And here's my point. Whether you believe in this, whether I believe in this, the elites believe in it. And they have discovered cancerous cells that never die. They're called immortal cell lines. The first one was found here in the United States back in the 40s. And the cells are still alive today. And the military is training to, quote, take out mass zombie attacks. I'm talking Associated Press. I'm talking Business Insider. This news is 4 or 5 years old. Pentagon document lays out battle plan against zombies, 2014. Now, I was talking about it 2 years before it was even in the news, because that's, again, how they say. We're not practicing to mow down citizens. It's just zombies for fun. But what they mean is masses of citizens during collapse of society, people act like zombies. But you take it even further than that, Steve Quayle, and then Gary Haven.
Well, zombies has a twofold meaning. The zombies are those who are left on the surface of the earth after all these calamities happen, and that's kind of the coverall theme for anybody that's not one of the elite. But that's on the left hand. On the right hand are the zombie viruses. And Alex, I've literally interviewed a high-ranking military guy that went into great detail about the test zone in Iraq for the actual release of some form of a zombie virus, and talked about a guy walking, multiple witnesses, with half his head gone, a hole in his chest, dragging his arm backwards and breathing out of lungs that are gross. Now, I'm sorry to be gross, but that's exactly what he
Viruses that turn off the normal synapses of the body and let it go even further.
Right.
And isn't that associated with rabies viruses?
Right. And remember, we're in the age of rabies viruses, but we're in the age of the most, it's a cornucopia of evil brewing in a...
And they're just testing everything.
And everything. And by the way, the Human Genome Project was specifically designed and funded to find, if you will, the demon blood strains of...
I was about to say, and in the new Superman movie, again, they admit, all these big famous comic book writers, that it's propaganda placement or predictive programming to get people ready for things. You've got the doomsday character that cannot be killed.
Right.
Because he's this mutagenic abomination.
Mutagenic abomination. There used to be a time when comic book carriers were, comic book characters were the good guys, Superman, truth, justice, and the American way, and the American way. Now you got Superman fighting Batman, and so many superheroes. But what are they saying? The future belongs to genetically altered people or entities or robots versus to us. And now they're saying robots are going to have rights. You aren't. They're totally, admittedly preparing us. Gary Haven.
Yeah, you know, they call this predictive programming. You know, all the kids now are worshiping these comic heroes that have had genetic alterations. And of course, Steve writes about that. You know, I want to mention something about virus. When millions of us received the polio virus as children, we were contaminated with cancer cells.
It's admitted.
Yeah, yep. and that is a fact that's easy to find. And so trusting the medical community to care about you without questioning them, believe me, they have not proven their trustworthiness to me.
And Gary, keep going. I just want to add, it's in the mainstream news today. Kids in the West and young people are the most depressed they've ever been. Women are the most depressed. But they say, I don't care. I want my video games. I want my iPhone. I want my TV. And they actually get defensive if you warn them that they've been programmed by it. Because to them, it's the real world.
Actually, that's so true. Alex, all the video games, all of virtual reality was designed to take thinking out of the realm of the next generation or the next 2 generations, because that's their world. They don't understand history. You've done the man.
It's the proto-matrix.
It is. And it gets worse than that, because they're divorcing them, and they will then believe a superhero coming on their iPhone or on their iPad or whatever going, hi, I'm the superhero.
That's their new friend that they...
Yes.
Real people won't be influencing them. It'll be their... Well, they admit dating sites. Most of it's a fake bot.
Right. And it'll be basically a sympathetic demon saying, oh, I understand your problems.
They admit it's going to be an AI conscious algorithm that's a real thing, and then you bring into your house the little Amazon computer that you talk to that runs everything.
Absolutely. And remember this, any computer that runs anything is watching everything you're running, doing, thinking, feeling. And why is it the Defense Department was so concerned with all of their their brain enhancement, their brain reading, the whole, if you will,
interface.
Yeah, the interface. Thank you.
The brain has no firewall.
Right. And the idea is that to control everything that their soldiers think. Look, they are doing away with veterans for one reason primarily. And that is because those men and women would give their life because they love this country.
They're not perfect, but they're the last free independent warriors.
Absolutely.
They're the final phase out of humanity. They're phasing out families, women, men, everything. Plants won't produce seeds that produce seeds anymore. It's the death of this planet's system that God created. We're seeing the extermination, the execution of the planet by the very people that claim to the guardians. Gary Haven.
Yeah, you know, we got to realize scripturally, Satan's hates people because we are made in his image. And it's all about destruction. He wants to destroy everything. And these globalists...
And even if Satan didn't exist, which we know he does, this is Satan. This is what the Bible said. This is it.
Yep. And joining the spiritual realm to the liberty movement is critical right now. And I'm so glad
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about fighting back.
Okay. You know,
that's what you're doing. You're taking this message directly to the...
Yeah, you know, I could be on a desert island somewhere enjoying myself. I've made all the money I need. So why am I bothering with this? Well, I'm bothering with it as if my life depended on it, my grandchildren, your family's lives depend on it. We have an enemy. You know, I love the line out of the movie that HLL Melkin, always have trouble with that movie. You'll recognize it. The hero tells the king, the enemy is upon us. And the king says, I'm not prepared for open warfare. And he says, well, be prepared or not, the enemy's here.
That's right.
And, you know, so we have to realize, I don't care how afraid you are,
That's
how
it.
busy
People
you are.
think if they just deny this, then it goes away. No, the only way to be safe is to fight it.
You know,
Absolutely.
Churchill said, I love what Churchill said. He says, an appeaser is someone who feeds the alligator hoping he's not going to eat him. And that's the world we live in right now. Guys, the alligator's coming for you.
Well, hoping the alligator eats you last.
Yeah.
You're just stalling.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, we've been thrown to the alligators. We're thrown on, their goal is to throw us on the trash heap of history. Here's the thing, everyone. Throw out the word conspiracy. You can watch it in real time on network news. Everybody has teamed up against...
They're unified. They're lying. They've got fake polls. They're delisting him on Google. They're lying about us. They're saying, shut down Breitbart, shut down Drudge, shut down Jones. They're openly saying, shut us up. They've said on MSNBC and Salon, I should be arrested.
Well, look, here's the deal. In a kingdom of liars, telling the truth is the ultimate enemy. And what people have got to, here's what, they don't even have to wrap their heads around it now. They can see. I don't need to tell somebody who used to be middle class and now they can't even feed their families that the country's changed. Liars, liars, liars. And there's a wonderful passage in the New Testament that men will give heed to seducing spirits. They will give heed. That means they will be taken in by lying demons. And
then they believe the con more than reality.
Yeah, and by the way, lawlessness, that's called the mystery of iniquity in the New Testament. We are a lawless society. When the director of the FBI absolutely goes into a great, basically, soliloquy on, yes, she's guilty, but basically, I can't do anything about it. That's that's a
declaration that evil has taken over.
Evil reigns. Evil reigns. And the only thing to hold back evil, obviously, is when good men do nothing. But more than that, the definition of conspiracy, Alex, no one can accuse anybody of that word because they'd have to admit that those who they listen to, mainstream news, that those people are doing is this. They're vilifying to destroy. And that's what's at stake.
I was about to say, and Gary and Steve, Gary Haven, speak to this, though, because you started getting into it earlier. You're going out, reaching out to evangelicals. You're going out, getting on these programs that reach hundreds of millions of people potentially. And that's great because that's an audience that has been absolutely on target with so many issues, but also in the dark about the fact that it's actually happening right now.
Yeah, Steve and I were on the Jim Baker program this last week. He's got a huge audience, and what a great opportunity to really speak truth to people. You know, the evangelical community is a natural community to turn this country around. You know, we're committed to truth. We serve the author of truth, Jesus Christ. And yet the evangelicals have been held back. And I hate to say it, but it's a lot of these nonsense going on into their churches. You know, they hear about name it and claim it and the myth about the pre-trib rapture that we're all going to check out of here before this happens. Guys, you need to get in your Bible and learn the truth. But I've been given the privilege to speak to that audience because I'm one of them. I'm a Christian, and I understand the truth. And I'm also part of the liberty movement, and I'm part of the truth movement. And to join these two together, we can take our country back. Now, there's going to be a battle. And there is going to be a new world order. The question is, will we be a remnant that escapes from the real destruction?
And by the way, this is the most dangerous thing you've ever done. You know, Chuck Norris said, you know, to you and his son about the film, we'll get ready for him to come after you, putting this film out, trying to go in and get the Christian churches moving in the right direction, like the Black Brigades in 1776, is the key to this. Yeah. And, you know, that's, you can tell why they went after Baker and attacked him, because he's the type of guy that actually will talk about this now. And despite them trying to destroy him, you know, he's back on his feet again and reaching tens of millions. It's a testimony of how they demonize, how they lie, and what they do. But the good news is, it's got to really worry the globalists. I go back to this. The military is so awake. The police are so awake. This is going to be spectacular. I mean, this collision of forces is going to be amazing.
Well, it's going to be, Jesus said it like this: there's never been a time in history like it, nor would be again. And except the days were shortened for the elect's sake, there'd be no flesh left alive. Well, Alex, when we're talking about zombies, we're talking about transhumanism, we're talking about the destruction of 90%. You and I broke the story on Deagle. And the Deagle, remember the survey? We did that on your show. And they even, Deagle put up, look, we're not a conspiracy. We're not some kind of satanic cult. We're just telling the information that we have available based on the death of the middle class, how few of Americans are going to be. And you remember what the percentage was? It was really low. In other words, we went from 330 million people, Gary,
to 60 million. And by the way, they just released some new numbers. And
let's talk about these studies they've done.
Yep.
When we come back. Wow, Gary Haben and, of course, Steve Queller, our guest. Both of their new films are available at InfoWarsStore.com, Amerigeddon and The Unholy Sea. I want to talk some about The Unholy Sea, also get into some of the latest news, developments, Donald Trump, what we should be doing to support Donald Trump, and more.